There is a battle between Iran and Israel and Iran and the United States. We know that. It's in the news all the time. One thing is certain. It is the religious tenets of Islam, led by the Ayatollah Khomeini, who is the supreme religious leader in Iran, that ultimately drives their military machine, drives their political strategies and their negotiations, and that's all a part, all wrapped up in their religious beliefs in Islam. Yet Iran was not always, as a nation, in this position. Their hatred for Israel and for the United States was not always there. And just recently here, the 41st anniversary of the Ayatollahs coming to power was observed. And I think it's a great time for us now with our guest, Dr. Jimmy DeYoung, to get a review of the rise of the Islamic militant Iran, which is what we're dealing with now. Jimmy, you are an historian as well as having lived in the Middle East for a long time. I want you to give us an update here. The religious leader, the Ayatollah in Iran, really runs the show, but 42 years ago, he wasn't in the spot that he was in. Give us a little bit of the history of Iran, its leaders, and what it was like before the rise of this Ayatollah, how he got there. What's significant about that?
Well, Sam, actually, when we're thinking about the Ayatollah Khomeini, Ali Khomeini, he, prior to 1979, was in exile. The Shah of Iran was leading Iran prior to 1979, and the Shah had targeted all of these religious leaders, these radical Islamic leaders, about 15% of the population of Iran at that time. So Ayatollah Khomeini actually had to go into exile, and he went into exile first under Saddam Hussein there in Iraq. Saddam Hussein offered him a place to be able to stay, to continue to operate. And so Ayatollah Khomeini went into Iran. Then Saddam helped him to get into Paris, France, which, of course, all of them thought would be a better location, more capability to communicate his cause and everything else. There in Paris, he was preaching a number of sermons to the Islamic community in France. He recorded these sermons, and I want to tell you, it's almost funny. He used the latest technology at that time, which would have been cassette tapes. You can't even remember what they looked like, probably. But he would use these cassette tapes, recorded his sermons on them, sent them into Iran to hundreds and thousands of Quran studies that were taking place. And this, of course, then would build up his base. And over the period of time in November of 78, Jimmy Carter invited the Shah of Iran. I happened to have been at the White House the night that the Shah was meeting with Jimmy Carter. He invited the Shah to the White House. He told the Shah that the United States was going to not be able to support them because of the human rights record of the Shah of Iran, supposedly what Jimmy Carter thought. And early in 1979, the Shah fell from power, which opened the way for the Ayatollah to return. He returned actually on February the 11th, 1979, and 6 months later, upon that base that he had developed in his sermons into Iran, he was able to have the nation call a national referendum, and they actually voted to establish Iran as an Islamic republic under Sharia, which of course is the law of the Quran.